Hi guys, today we're doing chapter 2. So we're going to focus on the lecture and lecture outcomes because I believe that when the lecturer sets the test or an exam, they always focus on the outcomes. So this is like the required. So first thing they say, okay, once you have studied this chapter, you should be able to identify three questions that all economic system must answer. Excuse me. And we know where these questions, it's the question of what, how, and for whom. This is all extra information that we don't need. Okay. So they define economic system. Economic system is a set of mechanisms and institutions that resolve the what, how, and for whom questions. So guys, let me take you back for a moment. So you remember from chapter 1, we learned that the economic problem that we have in the economy is a problem of scarcity, right? Yeah. And then we moved on to say that in economy now, we study the choices that people make in order to deal with with the problem, which is scarcity. And in making those choices, they consider the economic questions of what, how, and for whom. Now we're doing economic systems. These systems, they are now here to do what? To resolve or you need to come up with the solution to those economic questions of what to produce, how to produce, and for whom to produce the goods and services for. So now we're finding the solution here. So yeah, the learning outcome was saying what are the we're saying what? Identify, okay, we don't even have to discuss them. We just have to identify the three questions that all economic system must answer, which is the question of what to produce, meaning that um what to produce means basically that, okay, where's that slide? We were this thing of going back and forth. What to produce, it's like, okay, what are we producing? We look at what's our customers demanding. Then that will tell us, okay, we should produce this because it's in demand. How to produce it, to look at the facts of production that we're going to use in the production process. And for whom, it's the people that we're directing those goods and services to, the target markets. So two characteristics are used to compare economic systems, such as property rights and decision-making process or coordination system. Property right, we use these two to compare economic systems. Property rights, it's basically who owns the resources. You will see when when I start to explain each economic system, you will realize that with each economic system, um, for instance, in a traditional economic system, the people that owns the resources, it's the individual. With the command, it's the government. With the free market system, it's the individual as well. The private, they say it's the what? It's owned by it's owned by the private sector, which means that it's the individuals. So when we compare the economic system, we look at who owns what, who owns the resources in that particular system. And then also who makes the decision about what to produce, how to produce, and for whom. As I also have mentioned that in the free market in the economic system, you find that okay, um the people who own the resources is the individual. They are privately owned resources. And also the customers or any the households or the individual, they also decide on what to produce, how to produce it, and for whom. While in the command system, now it's different. The government own the resources, they are state owned, and also the government decides, and the government makes all these choices in terms of what to produce, how to produce, and for whom. So when we differ, differentiate between these systems, we always look at who owns the resources and then who makes the decision, and also look at the advantages and the disadvantages for each. Okay, let me go back. They also say here, discuss the 4 factors of production. We know the factors of production. It's land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship. Those are our 4 factors of production that we have. Should I also go back? Let me just take a picture of this so I don't. Okay, no, I won't. So the factors of production that we have, it's land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship. Okay, it's not here. But we know that labor it consists of human mental and physical effort. Basically, when they're speaking of labor or laborer, they're referring to us, they're referring to people who are working. Because if you work, then you're providing your labor. Can be human capital now, that's when you're providing your skills, your knowledge. Physical capital, it's the effort that you put in producing goods and services. And then also land is also another factor of production, and land is just a natural resource. It consists of all the gifts of the nature. That's just land. And then also capital. Capital is just referring to the equipment which is used in the production process, and let me see what they say here. Refers to the manufacturing resources, yes, which are used in the production process. So it's the equipment which is used in the production process. Capital do not have unlimited life. We know that. And then also we have to provide for depreciation. Capitally, you cannot own, for instance, you cannot own a machine and think it's gonna work the same way forever. There's going to be a time where now it won't even work at all. You have to service it, and then there'll be a time also where you just have to just dispose it, because now it doesn't work at all. So capital goods, they have unlimited life. They do not have unlimited life. But you just have to know capital goods, they're referring to machinery and equipment which is used in the manufacturing to manufacture goods and services. And entrepreneurship, it's a person or people who see opportunities and are willing to take risk. Yeah, we refer to entrepreneurs as the risk takers, because these people, they take risk of starting a business. When you start a business, you might never know if it's going to make a profit or it's going to make a loss. So you take risk. So entrepreneurs, they're people who see an opportunity and then they take a risk. We've explained this. They say describe a pure market economy and identify its problems. So guys, pure market economy, it's the same as free market economy and market economy. It's basically the same thing. So do not be what? Be lost in a when you see a question now saying pure market economy. You just think of a market economy or a free market economy. So a free market economy is also known as a capitalist system, meaning that they are profit-driven. Obviously, very free market economy, they're usually owned by individuals. So if you are an individual and you own a business, obviously, really, the aim is to make a profit. So they are capitalist system because why? They are driven by profits. That's their motive. And then in a free market, all resources are privately owned. So the government is not involved in a free market. So it should be easy to remember this one because it's free markets. Just think free markets and then just say, okay, government is not involved there because it's free. Everyone owns the resources. That's why we say resources are privately owned, meaning that they are owned by individuals. And then businesses and consumers decide what to produce and what to purchase and in what quantities. So the businesses will decide what to produce, obviously, and the consumers will decide what to purchase and in what quantities. And then, obviously, really, when you see businesses and consumers, just think of demand and supply. There's going to be people demanding something, demanding what they want to purchase, and then supplying, it's what they will produce, the producers. So the law of supply and demand. So the decisions here are made according to the law of supply of demand, which is why I said um the businesses when they want to produce something, they look at the demand. Okay, is there demand for this product? Okay, there is a demand. Let's produce it. For example, if you were to make what's this cash time? I don't know if you guys still remember a cash time, but if someone was to sell those shirts now, that person would definitely make a loss because we're not gonna buy them. They're out of fashion, they're outdated, and all of that. So as a producer, as a business person, when you decide on what to produce, you have to look at what's the demand. If people are still demanding that thing, or if there is even a market for that thing, and then you can produce it, which now goes with supplying. You supply that thing because there's a demand for it. So yeah, free markets, all resources are privately owned. It is called a capitalist system because they're profit driven. I think that is what is important here. Obviously, value has roots when there's businesses and consumers, there's going to be demand and supply involved. And then we have, well, these are the effects of production. Um, okay, this theory of Adam Smith, I think, okay, I'll just tell you guys so that for the benefit of knowing, but it's not on the learning outcomes. The theory of Adam Smith, invisible hand of market, it basically means that the Adam Smith says that the markets, they are they are productive on their own. They do not need the government intervention or the government involvement, which is why in the free market economy we say that they are privately owned. There is no government intervention because of this theory where they say that they are free on their own, they can operate on their own, they do not need the government intervention. So we're still doing the pure market economy. It's just the same thing as the market economy or the free market economy. So here it is privately owned rights. It is owned by individuals. There is no government intervention. So sometimes it is also called a capitalist because they are profit driven. The consumers, they make all the decisions. So the consumers, they decide what consumers decide what should be produced in the market economy through the purchases they make. Exactly what I was explaining, that for the producers to produce something, they have to look at the consumers. If the consumers are demanding that particular product, and then they can produce it. So what to produce, the consumers decide what to produce. How to produce it, then now the producers will then have to look at the factors of production that they have available in order to produce whatever is being demanded by the consumers. They always have to produce their products have to be of quality, and also ensure that they sell their products at the lowest price possible so that they can always stay ahead of their competitors. So in the pure market economy, there's always competition. Everyone is producing goods and services. Everyone wants to gain more customers or attract more customers. So there's always a competition here, which is why it's very important to produce quality products and sell them at a lower price. And then for whom to produce it for, in the market economy, the people who have more money are able to buy more goods and services. Excuse me. So basically for whom to produce for, it's basically who are we producing these goods for? Our targets, our target markets. So guys, you do get this slide. In a market economy, they're privately owned, resources are privately owned. There's no government intervention. The consumer decide what to produce, how to produce. The producer decide on how to produce by looking at the demand of the consumers, for whom also um in the market economy, those with more money, they can buy more goods and services. And then the advantages and the disadvantages also you have to know. So the market economy is productively efficient. meaning that they can produce at the lowest cost possible. Why is this? Because firms are always under pressure. As I did mention, yeah, when I was saying, when I was speaking of how to produce goods and services, to say that there's competition in the market economy. So firms are always trying to stay ahead of their competitors. So productively, efficiently, they're always trying to find the they're always trying to minimize their cost in order to increase their production. And allocative efficiently, it just speaks of the output which is produced. So obviously, if goods are allocated efficient, it basically means that even the production was efficient. Because allocative efficient, it means that when you go to a shop and you buy something, um, the output is always, how can I put this? So it basically means that when you go to purchase something from the shop, you always find it. So if for instance when you want to purchase something and it's always there, it means that the production was efficient. It means that they produced the right quantities, which is why then it is able to satisfy our needs. Which is why then when you want to satisfy your needs, you can just go to a shop and purchase whatever you want. So allocative efficiently, it deals with outputs that has been produced, while productive efficiently, it involves producing at the lowest cost. And then all other advantages is that they are incentive to produce. It's like incentive, you can say this is money, because if you produce better products, then you get more customers and you get more profits. This is what it's basically saying. It is flexible. It's flexible in a sense that one day you can wake up and decide, okay, I'm selling pencils. Pencils are not making enough profit for me. Let me start selling what? Let me start selling iPhone because iPhones are in demand. So a market economy is very flexible. Also, you can just decide tomorrow that no, I'm going to start selling because it's hot these days. Let me just sell ice cream. Also, if you don't want to sell, also you can just shut down your business. If you want to expand as well and maybe add another product, maybe let's say you're selling ice cream, now you want to add umbrellas because sometimes it's raining here, then you also sell umbrellas. So market economy is very flexible. So the advantages of the market economy, it's productively efficient, meaning that they can produce at the lowest cost possible. It's allocatively efficient, meaning that the outputs produced always satisfies what the consumers, and then they are incentive to produce better products, and also it is flexible. Keeping in mind keeping in mind that in the market economy, all resources are privately owned. There is no government intervention. Also, the disadvantages of the market economy is that there's a great rift, there's a great gap between the wealthy and the poor. So the income inequality gap. So in the market economy, there's a great gap between the wealthy people, which means that the high income earners and the low income earners. Some firms try to monopolize the market, meaning that some firms try to dominate the markets, to be the only firms in the markets. There is no provision for public goods. Obviously, in the market economy, resources are owned by individuals. And I did say, Uti, the market economy is like, it is also known as a capitalist, meaning that they are profit driven. So whatever they do, they want to make a profit. That's why they do not provide public goods. Because public goods, you don't get anything in return from a public goods. And then externalities. Externalities, those are the spillover effects to the third party not involved in the production process. It's just the effects to the third party. Externalities can be positive or they can be negative. So positive externalities, it could be, for example, building a mall. So when you're building a mall, you're trying to benefit yourself so you can make profits and sell things, but also you're benefiting the community because now you're going to open employment opportunities, and so on. So that is a positive externality. That is a spillover effect, which was positive, which was good. And then negative externalities, let's say spillover effect to the third party, not involved in the production, but that one is not good. It's negative externality. So that one could be maybe pollution. For instance, for example, maybe if they put a mining firm near this campus, then maybe there's going to be smoke coming out of the firm, right? That smoke is going to affect us, that as third parties. So that is also negative externality. So externalities can be negative, they can also be positive. Market failure. Market failure can be caused by these enterprise not being able to satisfy our needs or not being able to meet our demand. And also because there is a high competition in the market economy, you might be selling something that the consumers are not demanding at all, and you might end up having to shut down your business, or yeah, just to shut down your business. So yeah, those were the advantages and the disadvantages of market economy. So let's just recap. Market economy, it is privately owned, government is not involved. It's sometimes called a capitalist, which means that they are profit driven. The advantages is that they are productively efficient, meaning that they produce at the lowest cost possible. They are allocative efficient because the outputs produced maximizes the satisfaction of the consumers or the society. They are incentive to produce better products, meaning that if you produce better goods, you get more customers, which enables you to get more profits. It is also flexible, easy entry, easy exits. Market economy, the disadvantage is that there's a great gap between the wealthy and the poor people, meaning that there's a great gap between people who earn high income and those who earn low income. And then some firms try to monopolize the market, so some firms try to dominate the markets. There's no provision for public goods, obviously valid because their main focus is on making profits. And then externalities, those are spillover effects, which could either benefit or affect the third party. And at this equity, there are negative externalities and positive externalities. Market failure in terms of the market may not be producing or meeting the demand of the consumers and therefore may be forced to shut down. Also they say they said describe a pure market economy. We did describe it to say that a pure market economy, um, it is privately owned, there is no government involved, and then identify its problems. Okay, they only wanted us to know the problems, but now we did the advantages and the disadvantages. And then describe a pure centrally planned economy and identify its problems. So we're going to look at the centrally planned economy. Centrally planned economy is just a command economy. Free market economy problems. The command economy is also called the centrally planned economy. So in the command economy, all resources are owned by the state. So the command economy is the opposite of the free markets. Yeah. So because in the free markets, the resources are privately owned, and in the command economy, resources are owned by the state or any the government. So they say it is closely related to communism and socialism. I'm just going to explain this, but like I don't think we have to know it for now. So command economies they're often described as socialist and communist. So UI, what's going on here? So a pure socialist, I'm just going to explain these two. A pure socialist system, it's whereby all the factors of production are owned by the state. And a pure communist system, it's whereby all resources are owned by everybody. So the how I differentiate between the two, I just say pure communist, and instead of communist, I say, okay, I use community. So community in the community, then it means that, okay, because like we have the difference between this definition is that here they speak of the factors of production which are owned by the state in the pure socialist, and in the pure communist they speak of the resources which are owned by everybody. So to remember what's okay in the communist, it's resources and they're owned by everybody. I just say, okay, communist, it's community. So in the community, everyone is there. And then what does everyone own? It's the resources. But maybe this might not help you guys, but it does for me. So then obviously then now I know it's okay if the effects of production and states owned belongs to the socialist. So the difference here is that pure socialist rights of production are owned by the states, pure communist resources are owned by everyone. For now, we're just supposed to know the command economy and who owns the resources, which is the government, states owned, and also to know its problems. But we can also do this slide as well. Here they say that in such a system, people have to do work allocated to them by the states. They have no choice. Obviously, with the people here, they have no choice because all the resources are owned by the government. The government here calls the shots. Land, capital, and labor are allocated to production of each of the outputs. It guarantees equal standard of living for everyone. So this is an advantage for command economy to say that the government owns all the resources, the people have no choice, but it's good because everyone, because it guarantees equal standard of living for everyone. So there's less poverty because the government allocates the resources equally, so there's less poverty in the command system. Also, to answer these questions, central economic questions in the command system, what a detector of the Central Planning Committee decide what products are needed. So a detector, so it's basically the person who's in charge, maybe in the Central Planning Committee, will decide what is needed. How? Since the government owns all the means of production in the command economy, it decides how goods and services will be produced. So the government will decide how to produce and for whom. The government also decides who would get what is produced in the command economy. So it's just the same as what we just did, the free market. What to produce here, the detector of the Central Planning Committee will decide how to produce it. The government also will decide how to produce it. And then for whom, the government also decide who gets what. Same with the free market, what to be produced. The customer decide how to produce it. The producer decide how to produce it. For whom, they also look at the target markets. And then the advantages of command system. So for now, we know that the command system, it is owned by the state. People have no choices. The government decides what to produce. Okay, the detector decide what to produce, how to produce it. The government decide, and for whom to produce it. The government also decide who gets what. Now we look at the advantages. The advantage of the command system is that there's guarantee equal standard of living, hence there's less poverty. So because the government is the one distributing these resources, there's guarantee equal standard of living. And then one of the economic challenges in South Africa facing today is the dualistic nature. Dualistic nature basically means that we have wealthy people living in developed areas, or in wealthy people living in cities, rather. And then we also have poor people living in rural areas. So in South Africa, we have a dualistic nature because we have like two classes of people, wealthy people and poor people. There's the first economy and the second economy. This kind of system will guarantee equal standard of living for everyone. So I think one thing to remember here is just that the command system, the advantages of it is that because the government provides all the resources to everyone and the government provides all the resources equally, therefore there's equal standard of living for everyone. And so which means that there's less poverty. The disadvantage of the command system, and from the learning outcome, they say you must know the disadvantages of the command system. One, there's a lack of incentives. So no incentive to produce better products or engage in entrepreneurship. Remember, guys, that I did say the command system is the opposite of the free markets or the pure market economy, because that side they say that there are incentives because there's competition. People are being competitive. So if you produce better goods then you receive more incentives. While here they're saying that there's a lack of incentives. No incentive to produce better products or engage in entrepreneurship. Number two, there's bureaucracy, meaning that um, there are so many rules and regulations that have to be followed. And then coordination problems. It is impossible for the states to produce just the right quantity of each type of good. Inflexibility is very difficult for this economy to adapt to change. Corruption, there's corruption in gay. Vele futhi everything that involves the government in J. Most of the time there's always corruption. So I think you can remember these advantages. Just think of the government and what is happening and you'll be able to remember the disadvantages. I want to charge. So just to recap, in the command system, resources are states owned. The government makes all the choices. What I forgot to mention is that the government owns all the factors of production here, except for labor, because you can't own people. Labor, it's people, basically. So except for labor. And then yeah, and then so the advantages of this is that there's guarantee equal standard of living for everyone because the government provides these resources equally. And then the disadvantage is lack of incentive, bureaucracy, many rules, coordination problems, inflexibility, and corruption. Maybe even if you forget all of them, but like don't forget corruption, guys. Corruption, because this is state owned. It is owned by the government. And then what else do you have to know? Describe the centrally planned economy and identify its problems. Pure market economy, the centrally planned economy, and then describe traditional and mixed economy. The centrally planned economy is also the command, guys. So now I just have to, they just say describe. So for the traditional and mixed economy, we just have to be able to describe. We don't have to know the advantages and the disadvantages, but we just do them so that we're safe. And also here, say describe and also identify the problem. So we're good to also do the advantages and the disadvantages for the centrally planned economy. Centrally planned is the command system, the one that we just did. So now let's do the traditional and then do the mixed economy, just to be able to describe it. So the traditional economy is the old system, is the oldest system. It's the oldest system. It is found in rural and underdeveloped countries. All tasks and methods of production are prescribed by custom, meaning that um we do it's a traditional system, meaning that like custom means that that's a traditional way of doing things. So everything they do it in a traditional way. The examples are farming, hunting, and gathering. Yeah, men and women are given different economic roles, and all of that. But I think the most important thing here, because we just have to be able to describe. So traditional economy, so a traditional economy, just think of traditional. Then now you know it's okay, that is the oldest system. It is found in rural areas, and also their methods of production are based on customs, meaning that they follow their tradition, the traditional ways of doing things. For example, farming, hunting, and gathering. All of these things in rural areas, they still follow the traditional way of doing things. For example, farming, you find 20 farmers like on a farm, which means that they're still following the custom or the traditional way of farming because currently or now like in farming for other countries, maybe which or other developed areas or countries, when in their farm you find Uti there are machines or equipment that they use, which enables them to produce more goods and which also increase their productivity as well. But like in the traditional system, they still rely on the old ways of doing things. So here, the traditional system is the oldest system. It is found in rural areas and underdeveloped countries. The method which they use, it's based on the custom, which means that it's based on their traditions of doing things. Example, farming, hunting, and gathering. Yeah, I think that's all. Then the disadvantages, it's a rigid system, which means that it is slow to adapt to change. As my like looking back at the example I just did to say that in rural areas, people farmers are still people. And you find that in a farm, maybe like there are 12 people who are farming there. But in developed countries, they're no longer employing labor. Now they're using machines and equipment to increase their production. So the traditional system, they are slow to adapt to change because they rely on their custom, on their tradition, on what they're used to doing, basically. So that's a disadvantage. Also, they are stubbornly resist to innovation. So they are slow to adapt to change. Obviously, if you do not adapt to change, it means that they're not being innovative. They resist innovation. And also, there is no economic progress, mainly because their economic activity is not their first priority. So in traditional systems, when they produce these goods and services, they do not have the economic activities in mind. Economic activities, it's basically like employment, economic growth, and so on. They're just mainly just producing to satisfy their needs and wants. They are not focused on maybe making income and contributing towards the tax and all of that or making profits. Their main focus in J is to produce for their own consumption. So they are not, so their economic activity is not their priority, which is why there is no economic progress. And also because they are slow to adapt to change and they resist innovation. And then the advantages of traditional system is that economic behavior is still governed by tradition. So the advantage to them because what they do is still governed by tradition. So they're basically doing what they used to doing. They follow what's their tradition. And then children still follow their parents' ways. It provides a clear and easy answers to three economic questions. So a traditional system provides clear answers to three economic questions, which are what to produce, how to produce, and for whom to produce it for. Okay, so just a recap, traditional system is the oldest system. It is found in rural areas and underdeveloped countries. Um, Their method of production is based on custom, meaning that they follow their tradition. They're doing what they used to doing. And then the examples are farming, hunting, and gathering. The disadvantages is that their main focus is not on economic activities, so they do not prioritize economic activities. And then, therefore, there is no economic growth. And then, they do not adapt to change, which means that they resist innovation. So even if you don't remember these two, but like if you remember the first one, you then remember the second one to say they do not prioritize economic activities, therefore there is no economic progress. And also if you remember the first one here, you remember the second one to say they are slow to adapt to change, therefore they resist innovation. And then the advantages here, it's that they still follow their tradition, their systems are governed by tradition, and also children follow their parents' ways. And then it's provide a clear and easy answers to three economic questions, which is what to produce, how to produce, and for whom to produce it for. And then now they also said we must look at the mixed economic system. So here's the mixed economic system. In the mixed economic system now, it's a combination of the market economy and the command economy or the centrally planned economy. So in the mixed economy, the government takes care of people's needs. So the government provides us with our basic needs such as schools, hospital, and so on. And then the market takes care of people's wants. So now the market will provide us with what we want, iPhones, and so on. Most nations have a mixed economy, like South Africa. South Africa is a mixed economy. So yeah, that's all, Jenny. Mixed economy that you have to know is that it's a combination of the market economy and the command economy. So the government takes care of our needs by providing us with public goods and services, by providing us with infrastructure and healthcare services, yeah, and so on. And also the market takes care of our wants. And it's a combination of markets and command. We know that command is privately owned, and yeah, it's privately owned. And sorry, we know that the market is privately owned, and the command is owned by the state. So now the state or the government provides with us with our needs, which are public services, and the market, which is privately owned, provide us with our wants. It takes care of our wants. So in conclusion, in the mixed economy, it's a combination of the market economy and the command economy, whereby now the government is taking care of people's needs and the market takes care of people's wants. Also, if you're asked which country is a mixed economy, it's South Africa. And then the government in the mixed economy, we don't have to know this. Like our thingy, our learning outcome says we should describe traditional and mixed economy only. So now we have to compare and contrast economic systems. But let me just look at the advantages and disadvantages of the market mixed economy. So the advantages of the mixed economy is that it balances the needs on and wants, the balance of needs and wants met by government and in marketplace. So basically it means that because the government satisfies our needs and the market satisfy our wants, therefore there is a balance of our needs and wants met by the government and in the marketplace. And then the disadvantage is that citizens have to pay tax. So in which economic system your citizen have to pay tax, it is the mixed economy. So yeah, I think that is all that we have. We were supposed to know, compare and contrast economic systems. That is what we've been doing. So you have to be able to explain a pure market economy, what it is, and also identify its problems with which are its disadvantages. So yeah, I think that's all for this video, guys. I hope you guys understood. I'm going to do chapter 3 and then maybe we'll do the tutorial questions.